Do you remember when your mother used to make you oatmeal? Or your caregiver or whoever was taking care of you, and they would add in some delicious organic honey. Organic if they really cared about you. And maybe stirred in some milk. Coconut milk. Organic. And then, to top it off, to make it really just delicious, they'd pour in some lavender. Make it delightful. Actually, that sounds disgusting, putting lavender in your oatmeal, but I'm sure some restaurant in Iceland that charges $100 a course creates a organic oatmeal lavender experience. Not today. Here we're making lavender and oatmeal soap. Stay tuned. You don't want to go away. Before we get started, absolutely, positively, eye protection, gloves, apron. I'm gonna put my hair up now that you saw my curly hair, how it can look real pretty. I'm gonna put it up. It's working time. So make sure, protect yourself. You don't wanna get burned by this lye solution. It's not fun. Don't wanna lose your eyesight over bar soap. That'd be totally lame. So please protect yourself. I highly suggest using distilled water to dilute your sodium hydroxide flakes. You don't want impurities in your soap, and distilled water ensures that you're using nice clean water that's prepped for soap making. I like to run water next to the area that I'm mixing the solution. I find that it helps reduce the fumes, and I make sure that the windows are open and there's a fan going. That helps with ventilation. You can definitely wear a respirator if you want to during this process. I also wear long sleeves usually, but because it was 110 that day, no joke, I had short sleeves on. Here are all my oils that I'm mixing on a medium heat, stirring very frequently until it's completely dissolved. You can start with your harder oils, melting those first, and then incorporating your soft oils, but today I just threw it all in the pot and started to melt it down. I've listed the percentages of the oils that I used in the description. Here is, I believe, 2 tablespoons of honey. It's the unfiltered raw honey that I want to use in my recipe today. I'll talk later about some issues I had with it. Just showing you there that it was about 167 degrees. When I pulled it off the stove and started to mix in the honey, I'm just stick blending the honey in the oil. Since I'm letting the lye and the oils come to room temperature before incorporating, I have plenty of time to prep. I'm mixing in my Cuisinart the organic quick oats so that I can have a colloidal oatmeal to add to my recipe later on at Trace. I like to use the titanium dioxide that is for water mixing from Crafter's Choice. I just find that it incorporates better into my mix. So there I'm using 1 teaspoon per pound that I plan on using in my mix that day. Same with these Micas from Crafter's Choice and Brambleberry. I'll show you here what types they are. Honeyed Beige and Bronze Sparkle. And so I just did kind of a 50-50. Added some grapeseed oil to disperse. I find that a lighter oil works the best, but since it's kind of a dark, it doesn't really matter. Little trick is using rubbing alcohol to clean off your teaspoon. It helps get those micas off. If you use soap and water, it doesn't always wash very well. And there's Purple Galaxy from Crafter's Choice with a little bit of grapeseed oil as well. You don't want to use too much oil because you don't want to throw your ratios off. And now I'm weighing out my fragrance oils. You always want to do it by weight and not by volume. The first one is the Oatmeal Milk and Honey 2 by Crafter's Choice, and then Bulk Apothecary, you know, that one website. Their lavender, I'm mixing a couple ounces of that as well. Bring it up to 4.2 ounces. It's a 5-pound loaf. There we go, the 40-42, one of my favorites. And now it's at room temperature. It's actually the next day. And I always use a strainer to pour my lye solution through just in case there's some, I don't know, debris or unmelted flakes. And then I'm bringing it to light trace as I stick blend on low for 10 to 15 seconds. Now just pouring a little bit out so that I can add the colloidal oatmeal and incorporate that into a smaller area before I put it into the whole mix. And then I'm also adding my organic coconut milk that's room temperature. Another way that you can incorporate coconut milk, or any milk that is by freezing it into cubes. And when you do this, you can add it into your distilled water at the beginning when you add your lye. And this just ensures that you're not going to scorch the milk by bringing it to a freezing temp, and that way the lye melts it slowly and it doesn't have time to bring it up to a temperature that would scorch it. So here I'm just measuring out the proportions for the colorants, and a good rule of thumb is 1 teaspoon of mica or titanium dioxide per pound that you want to color. That's just a good rule of thumb. You can always adjust things if things are too dark or too light. And then after I poured things, I found that my honey did not incorporate into those oils very well. And I suspect it's because I did let things cool to room temperature and I didn't mix my batter like I usually do at 120 to 130 degrees. Therefore, the honey had time to cool back down. So next time I will add my honey to water and then discount my water and then add it into the mix at trace instead of adding it to the oils. And then I'm mixing the titanium dioxide and then the bronze and then the purple. I like to go light to dark so that way you don't have to worry about discoloring your colorants, because the light into the darker usually doesn't show up. Sometimes I mess up, sometimes I go from dark to light, and just doesn't usually affect it that much. Now I'm adding my fragrance oils. It does have lavender, so things might accelerate pretty fast. I'm not quite sure, even though it's at room temperature, and I used some oils that usually give you a little bit more working time, but I just don't know. So I'm trying to work fast here. I didn't add fragrance oil to the white. I just did this because the oatmeal fragrance has some vanilla in it, and vanilla can tend to brown a batter mix. So I just left it out of the white just to keep that white as bright as possible. And then this is just the creative expression at its best, just pouring in. I don't really have a huge plan. I like to lay down several layers. I'm gonna swirl it with my spoon because I like that effect. And then I do mound my batter at the end because I like to do a rounded design. Here I realized that my colloidal oatmeal did not incorporate as much as I wanted, but that's okay because I usually market my oatmeal bars as an exfoliating bar. So having some chunks in there is not a big deal. You can use a coffee bean grinder to get a finer mix with your quick oats. So next time, if I don't want to have an exfoliant bar for my marketing, I'll just use a coffee bean grinder. Make sure you tap your soap molds. That gets rid of air bubbles and pockets and just ensures that the mix settles to the bottom the way you want. As you can see, it's accelerating pretty quick there, but I still have plenty of time to work in a swirl design on the top. Try to clean up the edges as much as I can. It just helps for when I cut it the next day. A lot of people, when they see my soap, say it looks like edible fudge or cake or something like this, and it's due to the swirly dirly whirly design that I do on the top usually. It's my signature. No, it's just what soap makers do, and it's fun. You can be messy with it. It doesn't have to be perfect. I try to get rid of those air pockets as much as I can because it does affect it when I cut the soap. It smells amazing. This is definitely one time that I wish there was smell-o-vision because the lavender and oatmeal just is incredible. just doing some touch up, kind of detail work. Spritzing it with some 70% rubbing alcohol. That helps to prevent from ash forming on the top of the soap while it cures. I love the design. It turned out really pretty. And now I let it sit in my office overnight, at least 18 hours, sometimes 24, so that it can cure and harden, and I will cut it in the morning. I'm just measuring my soap cutter here, making sure I have a little over an inch before I start cutting. I can get 15 bars out of a 5-pound loaf when I measure it out to about an inch, inch and a quarter. I also like to have 3 sample pieces that I can give away at the end. And so it's the first cut, and I can see definitely there's some speckles from the colloidal oatmeal and some particles of honey that didn't completely incorporate. I've made exfoliating bars before that had some honey speckles in them. They've done fine. They don't affect the bar. I'm actually using one of my bars right now, loving it. When you have issues with unincorporated honey when it sinks to the bottom or there's big chunks of it and it can ooze that way. So ooze, that's a funny word. So just make sure if you do incorporate into your oils and this happens where you see some specks, just keep an eye on it over the 4 to 6 weeks of curing. And if there is nothing that's seeping, you're good to go. So I'm pretty confident that these bars of soap are going to be wonderful to use, as with my other oatmeal bar soaps that I've made. And here's the next day. You can see the colloidal oatmeal and the honey speckled the bar pretty good there. But I love the design. I think it adds to the effect, and I'm really happy with it. And a big shout out to my friend Stephanie for giving me this lovely and very pioneer-y apron. Thank you, Stephanie. It's beautiful just like you. And until next time, please like and subscribe for more videos like these. Keep on creating. Don't give up your day job. Just say no to drugs. Be all you can be. Don't be late for appointments. Have yourself a Merry Christmas. Create like your life depended on it. Don't judge people. Don't drink yellow snow. Or eat it. Go team. You could do it. You could do it. You can make this soap. You can do this. I could do it. You could do it. Unless you can't do it and then do something else. I don't know how to end these. See you later, alligator. That's it. The end.